I was a 40-year-old who had a big life, and Ashton's adult life was just beginning.
When Demi first met Freddie, she was just 16 to his 28. I was a self-absorbed teenager who hadn't been raised with a lot of respect for the institution of marriage.
You kind of fell in love with her.
Yeah.
You assumed you were her boyfriend. And then you find out the hard way she has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Moore eventually had to break off her engagement with Estevez. She was told by her therapist, if you marry him, you're going to ruin your life.
Demi describes Bruce as being, quote, tormented by his ambivalence about being married.
What was the rush to tie the knot? I don't know, it didn't seem like, there was no rush.
Demi Moore has been one of Hollywood's biggest players for decades, from her very public marriage to Bruce Willis to her midlife crisis relationship with Ashton Kutcher. Demi has been in some fascinating relationships. She's admitted to being a cheater and even cheated on her first husband on their wedding day. But in other relationships, Demi's been the victim of cheating. Could you guys imagine sending out the invites to your wedding only to find out that your fiance is cheating on you and got another woman pregnant? Because that is Demi Moore's life. And today we're doing a deep dive into her romantic past. So let's get into it. Demi Moore is a well-respected actress who's been in the industry for a very long time, so I thought today we would go through her complete dating history because it's been so messy. There's been moments where she sent out wedding invitations and then caught her man cheating on her in public with another woman. There are some crazy stories when it comes to Demi Moore's love life, but before we get there, I do want to acknowledge that I made a video about Demi Moore in the past. You guys never saw it. This is because that video got me a strike on my channel. I almost lost my channel. It's like the only time I've ever gotten this close to being wiped out on YouTube, and it was Demi Moore. The reason I want to explain this is because one of her most controversial moments is something that we can't really talk about. It was a moment where she was at a birthday party on set with one of her co-stars who was much younger. Let's just say there was a little bit of like intimacy between this minor and this grown Demi Moore to the point where it's haunted her ever since then. That's the end of it. We're not going to talk about that anymore because I'm not trying to lose my channel. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I want to go through her dating profile, and I want to start off with someone who's pretty problematic, Ashton Kutcher. When Demi and Ashton first met in the spring of 2003, she was 40 years old and he was 25. Their 15-year age gap was a big topic of discussion in Hollywood at the time. I guess Demi Moore has a thing with liking them young, but they started dating in 2003 and it looks like they actually married in 2005. In her memoir, Demi Moore said that being with Ashton Kutcher was like a do-over, saying that she could just go back in time and experience what it was like to be young with him, because she started dating very, very young. But it's kind of weird to think of this 40-year-old woman calling her 25-year-old boyfriend a do-over, so she can act like she's in her 20s all over again. Now, the former couple had their difficult moments within their marriage. They had a loss of pregnancy, which shout out to anyone who experiences that. That's a really horrible thing. My heart goes out to you. It looks like Demi had a miscarriage at 6 months pregnant. She said, "I can't really fully bring to words how lost, empty, desperate, and confused I was. I really lost sight of everything that was right in front of me, which was the family that I had had." There were also accusations of cheating, which happens when you date someone who's 25. Maybe he doesn't want to settle down with someone in their 40s. Demi says, "I knew she wasn't lying," the woman who exposed their affair. And she claims that Ashton Kutcher admitted to it right away. They separated in 2011 and their divorce was finalized in 2013. So after 6 years, a miscarriage, and cheating scandals, Demi Moore was done. This blind item reads, "There's been a nasty accident in Hollywood and someone will have to pay up. The issue is nobody wants to take responsibility per usual." But that's not the case anymore, because with Morgan & Morgan, regular people are finally winning too. They are the largest injury law firm in America, with over 1,000 attorneys and offices across the country ready to fight for you if you end up working with them. In the entertainment industry, these stars have a full team to manage them. Why shouldn't you? Plus, they've been doing this for over 35 years and recovered $25 billion for people just like you. One of their clients was offered a measly $350,000 from an insurance company. Morgan & Morgan got them $12 million. And these aren't rare stories. This is what they do. What makes it even better is how easy it is. For in 2025, people, Morgan & Morgan doesn't make you deal with the paperwork or pay anything up front. You can scan my QR code and fill out your case within minutes. minutes. And remember, the fee is free unless they win. So you don't have to pay anything out of pocket and you're not hiring a lawyer. You are hiring a full team who knows how to get it done. That is why Morgan & Morgan is who I would trust if anything happened to me. If you need them, you could start your claim now by clicking the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen using your phone's camera. It's fast, it's simple, and it could change everything.
I was a 40-year-old who had a big life and Ashton's adult life was just beginning. I didn't see all that because I was inside of it. I just felt like a 15-year-old girl hoping somebody liked me.
That's all true. I think that I had been responsible for so much of my life. And all of a sudden this window opened up where I was safe, I had money, he loved my children. It wasn't something he feared. He seemed to be comfortable with the enormity of the ex-husband. I mean, you know, I felt like I was not coming with baggage. I had trunks.
Though she points out that even though she is 15 years older than Ashton, her ex-husband Bruce Willis will marry someone 23 years younger.
It's so silly. I think part of it is we've been conditioned societally to look at the value of a woman being tied to her fertility. Like, what would an older woman have to offer?
Let's switch gears and talk about why Demi Moore is Demi Moore. Who gave her the last name Moore? It actually turns out it's a man named Freddie Moore. Let me take you guys back to the 80s when Demi Moore was just 17 years old and she got married to a man who's 12 years older than she is, Freddie. He was around 29 when they got married and their marriage lasted about 5 years. They divorced in 1985. Now, I never knew that Demi Moore's maiden name is Gunnis. Gunnis? Actually, I really like Moore. Sorry to all the Gunnis's people out there. There's a theme with Demi. It seems like there's a lot of age gaps within her relationships, whether they're older or younger. But when it came to Freddie, their relationship was controversial. Because, you know, when Ashton and Demi were married, Ashton was sleeping around. Well, it looks like Freddie is the same type of guy. He was married to another woman and started sleeping around with a teenage Demi Moore. Ultimately, he got divorced and they got married. But it's typically like how you get them is how you lose them. You know, there's that saying that if a man's gonna go and cheat on his wife, he probably will cheat on you if you become his wife.
When Demi first met Freddie, she was just 16 to his 28, and as she wrote in her memoir, her lack of life experience led her to recklessly engage in an affair with Freddie. According to the Daily Mail, the musician was married at the time, but as Demi wrote, I was a self-absorbed teenager who hadn't been raised with a lot of respect for the institution of marriage, and I jumped into life with Freddie without much concern for his wife.
I really lost sight of everything that was right in front of me.
When they tied the knot, Demi was 18 and Freddie was 30, and the 12-year difference didn't work in their favor.
In 2019, in her book Inside Out, Demi admitted that she cheated on Freddie on the night of their wedding. Demi says that the night before we got married, instead of working on my vows, I was calling a guy I'd met on a movie set. I snuck out of my own bachelorette party and I went to his apartment. Demi writes, why did I do that? Why didn't I go see the man I was committing to spending the rest of my life with? Because I couldn't face the fact that I was getting married to distract myself from grieving from her dead father. So her father had passed away, and it looks like at this point in her teenage years, she was probably a little bit lost. And Freddie was kind of like that stability. He's also older, so maybe he's kind of like a father figure to her. So instead of Demi being honest to Freddie, she wanted to go and sabotage this marriage because it was easier in her mind to go and ruin it instead of expressing how she really felt, which I think speaks to her age. I don't think like Demi's a horrible person for this. Of course, she like regrets how it went down, but I think that this is understandable for a 17-year-old getting involved with a married man.
Their relationship was tainted long before they walked down the aisle. As Moore recalled in her 2019 memoir, Inside Out, she had been unfaithful to Freddie just hours before saying I do.
I guess the fundamental question that came forward for me was, how did I get here?
She wrote, the night before we got married, I was calling a guy I'd met on a movie set. I snuck out of my own bachelorette party and went to his apartment. I couldn't get out of the marriage, but I could sabotage it. While Demi never named anyone in her indiscretions, Fight Club actor Paul Karafotis soon claimed he was the man in question. The pair played a couple in 1981's Choices and had a months-long affair, according to the actor. We laughed, had a good time, and played around on the set, and this developed into a relationship over a little bit of time. And then I guess we had an affair. Recalling the night of Demi's bachelorette party, Karafotis told the outlet he initially brushed Demi off, but then gave in to her persistence. He recalled, I finally said, look, if you want to come over, I'll open the kitchen window. You can climb the fire escape. I'm 4 flights up. The next thing I knew, she was standing there with a bottle of Dom Perignon, standing over my bed saying, let's do this, let's party. I was shocked. She was wild. The next morning, Carafoda said he reminded Demi that it was her wedding day and she was gone.
Let's move on to Demi's next love interest, John Cryer. Now, they dated in 1985, right when her divorce was finalized. Demi and John do have a small age difference, about 2.5 years, so he's far more age appropriate for Demi at this point in her life. Demi actually met John on the film No Small Affair, which was back in 1985, and they had a brief affair of their own, she writes in her memoir. I'm sure all these guys were so stressed out when Demi announced that she was coming out with this book. She wrote, "It pains me to think how callous I was with his feelings, that I stole what could have been such an important and beautiful moment from him." And yeah, you guys guessed right, because it turns out that Demi Moore claims that she had stolen John Cryer's virginity. John said on X, "Well, the good thing is that Demi doesn't have to feel bad about it anymore, because while I'm sure she was totally justified for making that assumption based on my skill level, I actually lost my virginity in high school." Wait, so how are you going to put out a book, Demi, and claim that you stole some guy's virginity and not fact check that? Like, I would even go have like an assistant go and just make sure. John said that she's right about the other parts that she wrote about. "I was over the moon for her during a very troubled time in her life. I have nothing but affection for her and do not regret it in the world." So, I mean, it's kind of interesting that John's admitting that he's not too great with his pickle. Let's take a look at an interview that John did on the Howard Stern show.
You kind of fell in love with her.
Yeah.
And you guys got it on. And
Yes.
and you assumed you were her boyfriend, which is such a sad story because I have been there. And I relate to this because you say, hey, you're with Demi, who's one of the most beautiful
Oh my God.
women.
And
Oh, they look like a cute couple back then.
charismatic and funny
Oh
and
my
just
God.
the coolest.
And
Just the
just
coolest.
so hot and
Yeah.
everything. And you're like, wow, show business is great. I'm in a movie with this chick, and we started making out, and we're getting into it. And
Ew, why does Howard Stern have such a way of like his radio voice is like automatically perv central?
I love that you figured out every moment of
oh,
this.
you assume you're her boyfriend, and then you
Yeah.
find out the hard way. Show business again is weird because she has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And you've built up a life with her,
Well,
right?
I found out from her housekeeper because I showed up at her house and I was like, "Where is she?" And her housekeeper said, "She's out with her boyfriend."
Oh, that's gotta hurt. Like showing up and be like, wait, she has a boyfriend? And not the housekeeper spilling the tea.
And I was like,
Oh my God.
but I'm her boyfriend.
No, you're not.
No.
Having an affair with her at work, etc.
Well, I guess if she had a boyfriend, you're right. I was having an affair.
Now we have to move on to Emilio. He's one of my favorites to talk about, not because he's a good guy, because it is so messy. We actually opened up this video by talking about the moment when she planned a wedding with this man who ultimately cheated on her. Let me introduce you guys to Emilio Estevez. Now, maybe Emilio is actually the boyfriend that John thought he was, because this relationship occurred around 1984. They both worked on a project together, St. Elmo's Fire, which they had a connection behind the scenes. Their romance was intense. They got engaged after 6 months together. They planned the wedding and even mailed out invitations before breaking up in 1986. That has to be devastating for Demi because she was with this man, planning to marry this man, and then learned that he was still getting it on with his ex-girlfriend.
Moore eventually had to break off her engagement with Estevez. She was told by her therapist, if you marry him, you're going to ruin your life. While filming the movie, Estevez and Moore realized they had a connection. The couple would spend practically all of their time together. Moore has referred to Estevez as her first love. He had a quiet confidence, which was really attractive to me. Moore writes of Estevez, he seemed so grounded, and he had a great sense of humor too. I loved his looks, his sand-colored hair and piercing blue eyes, the lovely structure of his face and his chiseled features. Emilio and I started dating seriously after I got sober, she writes. We were together for 6 months, and then we got engaged, and I moved in with him in his condo in Malibu. In Moore's book, she revealed that Estevez was not her first entanglement on the St. Elmo's Fire set. It turns out she had a one-night stand with co-star Rob Lowe before meeting her future fiancé. According to the Orlando Sentinel, Demi said fellow star Rob would later tease Estevez when he and the ghost star would share intimate scenes on the set of About Last Night in 1986. The worst part of this was that at the time I was seeing Emilio Estevez, and Rob and Emilio were friends, she said. So at the end of every day of shooting love scenes, Rob would call up Emilio and say, hey, guess what I did all day? I spent the entire day in bed with Demi, haha.
Demi wrote, Emilio and I had just mailed out the invitations for our wedding when a friend told me that she had seen him out with someone else in LA. He denied it, of course. He wasn't going to Ashton Kutcher and own up to it, but I was having a hard time trusting him. During a 2-week breakup a few months before, he had slept with an ex-girlfriend, lied about it, and then he was forced to tell me the truth when he found out she was pregnant. Oh, hell no. We need like Maury, Jerry Springer, whoever died needs to come back up from the grave. I feel so bad. I always forget who died. Was it Maury or I think it's Jerry Springer, right? Okay, let's put our mic back down. Emilio did end up having a child with this woman, Carrie Sally, and it looks like they actually had 2 kids together. Now, despite breaking up, they did remain friends. I mean, it looks like he went on and had his own life, and they reunited in 2006 for a movie titled Bobby. So, it seems like they're on good terms.
As time went on, the Breakfast Club actor began having affairs with other women. Emilio and I had, in fact, just mailed out the invitations for our wedding when a friend told me she had seen him out with someone else in LA. I remember the therapist saying to me after a few sessions, "Ordinarily, I prefer for a patient to come to an understanding on her own," said the therapist. "But I don't have time to let that happen, so I just have to tell you, if you marry him the way things are right now, you're going to ruin your life." After the session, her therapist wanted to meet Estevez so they could all talk it out. The actor had no desire to do so, but hesitantly tagged along to her therapy session. Sadly, that's when Moore discovered how low she was on the list of her fiancé's priorities. "You'll be shocked to hear I was pretty low on the list," Moore wrote. "I postponed the wedding indefinitely." Despite Estevez's desperate attempts to win her back, the two had a civil split.
Now let's talk about Demi Moore's relationship with Bruce Willis. Demi and Bruce got together in 1987. They have an 8-year age gap, and it looks like they were together for about 13 years. So one of Demi's longer relationships. Demi always meets her next boyfriend while she's still dating her previous, because she actually met Bruce when she was dating Emilio at the screening of Stakeout. Demi and Bruce started dating very shortly after her split, and they were living together and married in 1987. Looks like their first ceremony was in Las Vegas. They had a second ceremony a month later that was officiated by Little Richard that included their friends and their family. So it seems like the Vegas marriage was kind of spontaneous. Hopefully they figured out their prenups. So these two had a life together. They had kids together. They had a family until they had broken up. Bruce says, "I can give you the philosophical answer, which is almost the most universal. Things change. People grow at different rates. People can change at different rates. It's difficult for any couple to keep their marriage intact under the best circumstances." Demi agrees that their breakup was very amicable, and I don't know how you're amicable after 13 years. You must have just really grown apart and not cared about each other. Demi said, "It's a funny thing to say, but I'm very proud of our divorce. I think Bruce was fearful at the beginning that it was going to make our split difficult and that I would express anger or whatever baggage I had from our marriage, but none of that happened."
It's not unusual to go from feeling like your spouse's lover to feeling like he's just someone with whom you negotiate logistics.
Demi describes Bruce as being, quote, tormented by his ambivalence about being married.
All of my other relationships prepared me for this one.
Demi told ET about eloping after just 4 months of dating.
What was the rush to tie the knot?
I don't know, it didn't seem like, there was no rush. We had sort of talked about it laughingly and it just seemed okay.
She says after giving birth to their oldest daughter, Rumor, Bruce wanted her to put her career on hold and be a stay-at-home mom. But she was driven to work.
I think that we did a magnificent job of making sure that our children knew they were loved.
Now, after Bruce, it looks like Demi dated this man named Oliver Whitcomb for about 3 years, but their relationship was radio silence. Like, we don't know anything about them. He was 8 years younger than Demi. That's pretty much all we know. And this was right before Ashton Kutcher, when she made the big jump at 40 to go and date a 25-year-old. And we opened with Ashton Kutcher, so we all know how that one went. So let's speed up to some of the more recent relationships, like Sean Friday. They dated in 2013 until 2014. Sean Friday is a 27-year-old musician. Again, she's like going towards the lower ages, which I'm not gonna like go and read her for that because like men in Hollywood do that every single day, but it's interesting. Sean Friday is a drummer in the band Dead Sarah, and it looks like they were introduced by Demi Moore's daughter, Rumor Willis, which is pretty interesting that her daughter hooked her up with her future boyfriend. It looks like her daughter, Rumor, brought Demi to a show in Los Angeles. She thought he was fun and her mom would like him. In January 2014, they were still together enjoying a trip in Mexico. It also looks like her daughter and her boyfriend, her daughter's boyfriend at the time, joined them. So it's kind of like a double date. It's interesting that Demi's much older than this group of friends that she went on this Mexico trip with, including her boyfriend. Now, Sean Friday and Demi Moore clearly did not work out, and I feel like you guys probably know why. I mean, look at the circumstances. Daniel Hum, though, came into Demi's life in 2022. Daniel is a chef. He's like 48 years old, and at this point, Demi is 62. A source claims that Demi met Daniel through mutual friends, and they clicked right away. He's very charming, loves the finer things in life, and is extremely cultured. Plus, they share the same devilish sense of humor and sense of adventure. But by late 2022, it looks like things fizzled out. A source claims that she was in a good place. She's happy, just focusing on her kids and her family. And, you know, maybe his chef skills weren't up to par. As far as Demi's life goes nowadays, it looks like she's focusing on herself. Like finally, which is good for her. She had a really great year with The Substance. Comment below if you guys have seen that movie. It really freaked me out. I'm not gonna look at any of these LA people the same. I'm just kidding. But Demi has been reportedly single. There was it seems like a campaign, like kind of like like her publicist did a little campaign back in March of 2025 to kind of go and like speak about Demi's relationship and how she's happy being single. And you know what? Good for Demi. 'Cause she's had a lot of relationships. I mean, Ashton was what, like 6 years? Bruce was like 13 years. So she's got a lot of relationships under her belt. It kind of gives me Jennifer Lopez energy. Maybe even more. A little Taylor Swift, a little Jennifer. Actually, Jennifer Lopez is giving me Taylor Swift energy. She's trying to write an album about Ben Affleck. That's going to be a shit show. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys want me to dive in next, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.